If you've ever been to Le Mans, you'll know that the real racing goes on behind the one-off prototypes, where extreme versions of the same supercars you see parked in the paddock go wheel to wheel out on the circuit. This is GT racing, where if you've got the money, you can make all your racing driver fantasies come true. You don't even have to be fast. If you can afford one of these cars, you can afford to pay a professional driver to do all the hard work and just turn up on the podium. But where's the fun in that? There are GT series all over the world, and slowly all the regulations are coming together. But that needn't bother you with this group. The BMW M3 GT2 was first designed to race in the US, but has raced with considerable success all over the world. Corvette Racing, meanwhile, is the most successful team ever in the American Le Mans series and has taken its racers and the GT battle successfully to Le Mans.
There are sports cars and there are sports cars. Some of us will be lucky enough to drive a sports car, but only a very few ever get to drive a sports car. A one-off creation designed exclusively to race and to win. The modern sports car is a closed-wheel take on a single-seater, built around the same structures with the same obsessive attention to aerodynamic detail, to braking performance, to squeezing every last fraction of a second from the regulations. The driver is strapped to a cockpit that would notionally fit someone else, but never does. Sometimes the cockpit is open, sometimes it's not. The view outside from inside a helmet, don't forget, is limited. Invariably, the job in hand is to race the car at speeds approaching 190 miles an hour, inches from another car, and often for hours at a time. If you thought sports cars were about top-down cruising in the sunshine, it's time you introduced yourself to some sports cars.
Nothing comes close to a single-seater. Nothing accelerates like one. Nothing brakes like one. Nothing goes around corners like one. Take the Dallara DW12, the one and only car drivers race in the IndyCar series, America's ultimate single-seater championship, and its jewel in the crown, the Indy 500, the world's fastest and most famous race. The DW in the name is a tribute to Dan Wheldon, a British driver and Indy 500 winner who lost his life racing one of the DW12's fully open-wheeled predecessors. If the Dallara looks unlike any other single-seater you've ever seen, then you'll need to understand its aerodynamics are designed to keep the cars safe and stable on the 230 mile-an-hour plus banked ovals that many of the series races take part on. The only option for teams is the supply of turbocharged 2.2-litre V6 engines from either Chevrolet or Honda.
V8 supercars. Big, loud, basic, Australian. And unless you lead some kind of alternative lifestyle, they only come in two types. A Holden, that's like a Chevrolet or an Opel or a Vauxhall, or a Ford, that's like a Ford. It's a simple choice, steak or prawns, mate. Why make life complicated when the sun is shining and the racing is this good? Australia doesn't export its cars, and its domestic racing series is as unique as Aussie rules. The cars are based on the production body shells of the big Holden, the Commodore, or the big Ford, the Falcon, with roll cages. The engines are 600 brake horsepower V8s that have made the trip from America. Not surprisingly, and just like Aussie rules, it's a sport for real men. Think NASCAR drivers, then dial out the sophistication. But beware, the fans are as tough as the drivers. They're either Holden or Ford.
For those of us of a certain age, 1976 will always be remembered as the most dramatic Grand Prix season ever. Nothing before or since has come close. Two big personalities, British playboy James Hunt and steely Austrian Niki Lauda, went head-to-head in 16 races, in the law courts, and in Lauda's case, via an intensive care ward in Germany. There was, of course, a whole grid of cars battling for the championship in '76, but the Ferrari of Lauda and the McLaren of Hunt were the two that mattered most. The flat 12-engined Ferrari carried reigning world champion Lauda into an early season lead before a fiery crash at the Nürburgring left him badly burned and so close to death he was given the last rites. 6 weeks later, though, he was back, still bandaged and still bleeding. It would all come down to a single race in Japan, and a result that nobody could have predicted. Grand Prix racing, the pinnacle of automotive technology. A world of impossible speed and mind-boggling forces. A world where engineers with enormous brains devise new and exciting ways to deceive physics and rule makers, where the difference between success and pitiful failure is measured in millimeters and microseconds. A world of fiendishly complicated machines driven by men with superhuman reactions. But the thing about these superhuman drivers is that they make driving these cars look easy. So easy that while dicing with a dozen other superhuman drivers at 190 miles an hour, they can chat to their team on the radio about, say, what they fancy for dinner. But driving a Grand Prix car, as my colleague Richard Hammond will attest, is not easy. He once said nothing could prepare your mind for the assault. For once, he wasn't talking nonsense.